Hi, my name's Rachel and we're doing a new kind of video today. It's an author's behaving badly, but badly according to fascists. Because in reality, those of us who are not fascists know that today's author has been behaving excellently. This is the start of a new series called Authors Behaving Excellently. But as you all know, I do authors behaving badly here. I also talk about book banning here in Florida. I don't just talk about it, I show up because I believe I need to in order to support my own children, because this is their public school district and I need to support other students and teachers. I'm going to be doing a video talking about what happened in Hernando County because I did show up to support students and teachers, not to speak, unlike the fucking Proud Boys. I will soon, but I'm so disgusted by what happened at that school board meeting. It's really difficult to talk about. Just know that I am proud to be the person who ended up in the Tampa Bay Times for yelling and demanding that Shannon Rodriguez define the word woke. If you're going to keep using words, you're going to have to start defining them, or I'm going to keep yelling about it. I also did this to my county commissioner, Commissioner Michael Owen. Yeah, I did that to him too. Anyways, so I'm battling it out with fascists in Florida, and you know what? So is today's author. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to talk about this person. I am going to do a video on what's going on with my library system because my county commissioner, Michael Owen, being a pain in my ass, and also what happened in Hernando County because I am friends with Hernando County parents and I support Jenna Barbie fully. I'll do a video on all of it. I'm just not ready today. Today I want to do an author's behaving excellently. And the reason I wanted to do this was because I would love to get as much eyes on excellently behaved authors as we do on badly behaving ones. It's well deserved, it's well needed. But because I am who I am and because Florida is what it is right now, I could not do this inaugural episode that was just easy. I decided to go all in and talk about an author who's behaving excellently, whose book I've read twice, and who ties into all these things I've been talking about here on this channel because I think that they are so fucking important. So the first Authors Behaving Excellently episode is George M. Johnson, author of All Boys Aren't Blue, and that's because George M. Johnson is an incredibly brave person whose book is one of the most banned books in the last few years here in the United States. And now they really are getting into the most excellent and brave and anti-fascist behavior because George M. Johnson, along with their publisher, is suing a county in Florida. This is a big video. I know it's long. Please stay with me because I want to talk about one of the school boards and an incredibly brave student who has faced so much shit from that school board, and also how that ties into the school board that they are suing. Please go add their memoir manifesto, All Boys Aren't Blue, on your Goodreads. I have linked it down below, as well as on your Storygraph. Please stay for the whole video and share it because this is so important. A lot of you have been asking, what can I do in this fight against book banning? This is one of those things. Share the video so that we can get more eyes on what's happening in Florida. I know we all love hearing about the wild antics of authors who do really stupid shit on the internet, but this is important. Proto-fascism is a serious issue that we're facing in Florida. It's a threat to our youth, our queer folks, our BIPOC folks, our Jewish community. Please show up for us here in Florida. I know we're on fire. Please don't ignore us. We need so much help. We need you. All right, so I'm going to talk about George M. Johnson, explain the book All Boys Aren't Blue. It is their memoir. Talk about the banning of All Boys Aren't Blue and George's response. Talk about the lawsuit. Talking about Brevard County, Florida, which is not part of the lawsuit but is related to this. And since Brevard County wants to get their little fascist panties in a twist, I hope that George decides to sue you too. I hope that George personally sees you in court, you stupid motherfucker. George M. Johnson was born in 1985. Their full name is George Matthew Johnson. There's a whole thing in the book about how they explain how they got their name and how they went by Matthew, and I loved it because it's talking about like how your name is part of your identity. They are a queer Black American author and activist and a journalist. They are known for their book All Boys Aren't Blue, although they have 2 books out now. All Boys Aren't Blue came out in 2020. It was published by Macmillan. I've read it twice now. It's fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. I just reread it again this month. Highly recommend the audiobook. It's very short and the author themselves reads it, and I love the way that they tell their own story. The book is a collection of coming-of-age essays. It describes Johnson's memories of growing up as a queer Black kid. It focuses in on identity, and the manifesto, its call to action is about unapologetically being yourself. It's about uplifting Black boys, queer Black boys. It's about telling families to rally around each other. It's about masculinity. It's about so much. It's such a short read, but very impactful. The essays talk about very pivotal experiences in the author's life, talking about their family, whether or not their family was affirming of their queerness, talking about identity of family members within their family who were also queer, talking about masculinity and how that presents in different family members and within themselves, talking about sexual encounters, and talking about sexual abuse. Johnson says that they were motivated to write All Boys Aren't Blue after reading Toni Morrison, who says if there's a book that you haven't read that yet, you should write it yourself. Johnson actually has a tattoo of this saying on their arm. It has a star review by Kirkus. It's made many top 10 lists. The Root included Johnson in their 100 most influential African Americans in 2020. The book goes from Johnson's early life until Johnson's college life. It delves into talking about their experiences in boyhood, their experiences in their family, their experiences with, as I said, masculinity, but also in brotherhood, both in like literal brotherhood, like within their family, but also brotherhood as in fraternity, because they talk about their experiences in a fraternity. Johnson grew up in New Jersey and then Virginia. They talk about their family as being loving and affirming, not without issues, but affirming of Johnson prior to Johnson coming out at the age of 25. They also had a trans woman cousin who they said was affirmed by their family. They talk about her and the loss of her as well. Family is really like the center of this. It's the core of what this book is about family and familial expectations and gender roles that are within your family and taught by your family being affirming, loss of family members. All of this is discussed within the book. Also talking about brotherhood outside of family. So in the fraternity, Johnson attended a HBCU in which they joined a fraternity called Alpha Phi Alpha. I wasn't expecting to be so moved by the fraternity parts of this book the first time I read it because of the stigma surrounding fraternities. I really don't know much about them. I also did not attend college, so I was really impressed and moved by that. All Boys Aren't Blue is not their only book now. George also has another book that is also a memoir that was published in 2021. In All Boys Aren't Blue, they talk extensively about Nanny, their grandmother who helped raise them and their brothers, and in their other book, We Are Not Broken, there's even more diving into that. So actually letters from George and their brothers, their experiences growing up, their experiences with Nanny, and letters from George's brothers to Nanny. All Boys Aren't Blue has been frequently banned and censored and challenged because it is queer. It includes queer content and profanity, and is also considered sexually explicit. Within the book, it does mention masturbation, which is a normal thing that humans start doing. Around the age of 11 is when masturbation actually like brings a result, but statistically kids are likely to shove their hands in their pants way earlier than that. Most of us parents with kids know that that is just simply the truth. And we have to have that discussion of, okay, you can do that when you're alone in privacy, but please don't do that while we're all hanging out on the couch watching Toy Story. In 2021, the American Library Association's Office of Intellectual Freedom named All Boys Aren't Blue the third most banned and challenged book in the United States. It was the second most challenged book in the 2022 list. School boards in at least 10 states have removed the book from their library, and yes, that definitely includes Florida. In 2021, a Flagler County school board member actually, and a retired teacher named Jill Woolbright, filed a criminal complaint against the superintendent for allowing the book to be carried in the school district. So basically like trying to get the superintendent in particular like criminally charged for allowing the book. Isn't that wackadoodle? The Flagler County Sheriff's Office investigated and they found that the book was not in violation of the law, didn't warrant further investigation, superintendent was fine. The book was removed and it prompted protests from the students. Obviously, because students don't actually want books banned. School board in Missouri banned All Boys Aren't Blue alongside 3 other books from the district's high school libraries. High schoolers can't read All Boys Aren't Blue, please. And of course, what were the books? You want to guess? It's always the same shit because Moms for Liberty has a fucking list. It's The Bluest Eye, Heavy, and Alison Bechdel's Fun Home, which I don't know what that is, but I definitely know what Heavy is, and I know what The Bluest Eye is, and there is no reason why a high schooler cannot read The Bluest Eye. Again, Julie, there's no reason why a high schooler cannot read The Bluest Eye. They're fine. Grow up. In 2022, All Boys Aren't Blue was on a list of 52 books banned by Alpine School District in Utah following a law called HB 374, sensitive materials in schools. 42 of which, out of these 52 books, featured queer characters or themes. Okay. Many of the books were removed because they were considered to have pornographic material according to the new law, which defines porn in the most vague fucking way possible, saying the average person would find the material on the whole appeals to the prurient interest in sex. The material is patently offensive in the description or depiction of nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, sadomasochistic abuse, or excretion. The material on the whole does not have serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. See, All Boys Aren't Blue doesn't fit that because it does have serious literary, artistic, political value. I don't know about scientific, not a scientist. I can tell you that I think that politically, in a literary sense, in an artistic sense, this book matters. So, can't be porn then, according to your terrible definition. I'll let George speak for themselves on this issue of book banning because what they have to say in their own words is incredibly important.
It's bittersweet. And I have to say it's bittersweet because on one hand, I get to watch how the book has healed so many people, how it's changed the lives of so many teen readers, but also how it's changed the lives of so many elderly readers. As I actually did a book club one time with people over the age of 60, 33 people over the age of 60
Wow.
who had read the book. But then you're watching the other violent side of it where they're removing the book and in essence telling those very same teens that not only does your story not need to exist, but you don't need to exist.
Right, and that's the thing with this, it's a memoir. It's your story. So
Yes.
by trying to ban your story, you're trying to ban you. It's your story.
Yes, yes.
Were you prepared? I mean, I knew, of course, when you write a story like this from different, you know you're going to get some heat.
Yeah.
But like being on the top list of banned books in the country,
Yeah.
were you prepared? Did anyone say, get ready?
Yes, I was prepared. I was prepared because I was raised by a woman, my grandmother, Louise Kennedy Evans Elder, who, you know, like old folks always say, you ain't got to get ready if you stay ready. And so I was ready. Like, I knew this book was going to be banned. I've lived in this country long enough to know that there's a reason that my story is doing what it's doing now. There's a reason that those queer writers in the Harlem Renaissance were silenced. There's a reason that we had to have a Stonewall. There's a reason why all of these things have happened to get me to this point. But I knew going into this that the book would be banned, so I was always ready for it. Being at the intersection of Blackness and queerness, you oftentimes have to be ready for a violent response. You almost live in a state of where your mind is always thinking, this thing could happen to me. This thing could happen to me. So it's best that I be prepared for it. I don't like to be reactive. I like to be proactive. So.
Yeah. And so proactively, you embraced the ban.
Yes.
So one of the things that you did on social media was basically like, look, y'all, I was banned here.
Yes.
Now come and see me here.
Yes.
So you didn't run from it.
No, you know, Toni Morrison didn't run from it, and Baldwin didn't run from it, and so, you know, when you come from that type of stock of authors and you have your ancestors on your side, and I always believe that our ancestors are with us, we can't cower in the face of cowardice, you know, and so I had to be ready for it.
Books, the crime the book committed was, because the book had its own charge. The crime that the book committed was like under some like pornography act or pornography law in Florida that she was trying to file it under. The crime I committed, I think she was trying to get me for like intimidation and harassment because I continued to speak out about it, especially after she filed a criminal complaint against my book. I started to speak out about it, and she didn't like that. But realistically, it was part of the playbook, like, because they weren't winning in everywhere that they were trying to ban books, they weren't necessarily winning, right? Like, we were winning in some of those cases, and the ACLU was winning. And so once it got to that point where they realized that they weren't winning in some of those places, they do what they do, and they try to go to criminalization route.
Yeah, and they've been doing that across the country.
Now. Like,
Yeah.
she was the first, and I mean, as soon as she did it, North Carolina was next. Then I think it was one in South Carolina. Then it was one in Iowa. That's when the governor of Iowa went on TV with my book and read the most graphic part of the book on TV and said she was going to pass a law so that nobody could give my book out. So that's when they that was their next part of their plan, was like, okay, if we're not going to win it, if following the rules won't allow us to win, because they were following the rules, and school boards, even some conservative school boards, were like, no, we're not getting rid of all the books. They went the criminal route, and so now they're taking it up. We all know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it to the Supreme Court. They're trying to challenge the 1982 PICO case that gives students rights to have their books. We're not stupid. Like, we know that first they started at local, then they went to, now that we're at state level, and eventually a federal lawsuit, more likely than not, will probably be against me in the book and the American Library Association.
So Escambia County, which is a county here in Florida, not the one that I live in, but a county here in Florida, God help us, is being sued by PEN America, Penguin Random House, and a group of authors who joined with parents and students to file a federal lawsuit challenging the removal and restriction of books from school libraries that they say violate their rights to free speech and equal protection under the law, which I completely agree. The lawsuit says that Escambia County and the school board violated the First Amendment rights of the students, the authors, and the publishers by removing books based on ideological objections to their content or disagreement with their messages or themes. The lawsuit says that the district also violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution because the books being singled out for possible removal are disproportionately books by non-white and or LGBTQ authors which address topics related to race or queer identity. So it's PEN America, but it's also parents Sarah Brannon and Lindsay Durkee on behalf of herself and her children, on behalf of themselves and their children, George M. Johnson, the author, but also David Levithan, Kyle Lukoff, and Ashley Hope Perez, and also another parent, Ann Novakowski. So a bunch of parents and authors grouped together to sue this county in federal court. I will leave the complaint they put forward, like when they announced the lawsuit, down below if you want to read it. It just feels very like, ooh, get 'em when you read it. So it's a good read. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing, but I just want to point out the part where it says, today Escambia County seeks to bar books critics view as too woke. And they put woke in what are these called? Oh my God, quotes. They put it in quotes. In the 1970s, schools sought to bar Slaughterhouse-Five and books edited by Langston Hughes. Tomorrow it could be books about Christianity, the country's founders, or war heroes. All of these removals run afoul of the First Amendment, which is rightly disinterested in the cause du jour. Oh man, legal terms. Why are they in French? I did not know that about Langston Hughes, so that's interesting. And it says, plaintiffs Sarah Brannon, George M. Johnson, David Levithan, Kyle Lukoff, and Ashley Hope Perez are each authors whose books have either been ordered removed from libraries within the school district or are currently targeted for such removal and subject to indefinite restricted access during the review period. So that means that if somebody complains about the book gets taken off the shelves before they've even banned it, so that somebody, like a group of reviewers, can review it and decide whether or not it should stay in the county. Plaintiff Johnson is a resident of California and black and non-binary. They are the author of young adult books. Johnson's All Boys Aren't Blue is a memoir of growing up black and gay in the form of a series of coming-of-age essays. All Boys Aren't Blue was challenged in September 2022, despite a unanimous vote by the district review committee in favor of retaining the book in high school libraries. The school board voted to remove All Boys Aren't Blue from all libraries on February 21st, 2023. That's interesting because that's exactly what happened with This Book is Gay here in Hillsborough County. And real quick, just as a side note, this is not the only lawsuit like this. On Tuesday, June 20th, just a few days ago, a similar lawsuit was put forward towards another county here in Florida. A group of students and the author of a children's book about a penguin family, yes, this one, the penguin family with two fathers, is suing a Florida school district and the state's Board of Education. Fuck our state Board of Education, saying that restricting access to the book in school libraries was unconstitutional. I want to remind y'all that this is a true story. This is a true story that has been illustrated of these two penguins that actually exist and the baby that they raised. We're banning true stories now about cartoon penguins? Why? I can't wait to see. I cannot wait for that court Like, I want to be in the room. The lawsuit argues that the book was targeted on ideological grounds. The book got banned because of ideology and is a result of this new legislation put forward by fucking Ron DeSantis that has led to a spike in book removals, and that is the Don't Say Gay bill, which is called the Parental Rights in Education, but no right to be able to have my kid have access in their school to a book about penguins that actually exist that raised a baby. Okay. Don't Say Gay bars instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation outside of the state standards, which, by the way, there are no state standards. You know how I know? I went and looked it up. You know what else I did? This was a year ago. I looked it up, and then because there was no state standard that they want them to adhere to, I had questions. So I contacted the Florida Department of Education by phone and by email. You know what they said to me? Nothing. They said nothing. That's so weird. I thought it was about our parental rights and education. So why don't you call me back? Interesting. I'm sure you're busy with all the book banning. The school district is Lake County, by the way, and they restricted access to 40 titles, including And Tango Makes Three. The vast majority of the books that got banned were queer books, either books with queer issues, queer themes, including but not limited to the real life story of two penguins. Okay. The author of the book is Justin Richardson, who wrote the book with his husband, and he says, our book has been banned because Tango has two dads, which is a fact. Tango is a penguin that had two dads. Okay. The book is based on the true story of a pair of male penguins at the Central Park Zoo, Roy and Silo, who incubated and hatched a baby chick. So these two authors who are married, who are also a writer and a psychiatrist, wrote the story after reading about Roy and Silo in a New York Times article, and they were like, let's write a children's book about this. This is adorable. So they did, and it's a really fucking cute book. By the way, you know where my copy came from? The ACLU. I just want y'all to know that if you're a fascist watching this, that like, we're done. The parents who you claim to speak for, but really you're speaking over me, I'm all done. So now I'm talking with lawyers, and I'm not taking this shit anymore. Okay? I'm also supporting other lawsuits. Okay. Speaking of which, I want to bring you to what happened recently in Brevard County. Brevard? How do you say Brevard again? Is it Brevard? I don't know. Y'all will let me know. Brevard. It's Brevard County. Sorry. Brevard County has a ton of book banning going on. There is a TikTok creator who is a Brevard County school student who talks about book banning and goes to her school board meetings, and I would like to take the opportunity to tell y'all about her because I think that she's fantastic. She is doing the groundwork. She's boots on the ground. She's doing the incredible work, her as well as her parent, and I would really like y'all to go follow and support her. So I'm going to leave her TikTok down below, especially because of what happened to her at her school board. So I'll leave a TikTok down below explaining what happened to her, where she explains what happened to her, and I hope that you'll go comment saying, I support you, you're doing good work, keep up the good work, we're proud of you. She's doing the work of advocating not only for herself but for others, and supporting students and listening to students is what we need to be doing. Students are so rarely in attendance at their school board meetings, and there were only 2 students plus my kids who are students, but they're not going to talk at the ACLU meeting, and I think it's so important that we center them first because this is their education that we are talking about. It's theirs. It should be students, teachers, and parents of students who cannot speak for themselves. Those are the 3 people that should be speaking at their school board meetings. But I wanted to speak out about this student in particular because her school board meeting made fun of her. Her school board members, 2 of them, made fun of her for talking about her dyslexia. It's been really disheartening to see the response when they were called out for this. I'll show you what happened. She can tell you in her own words.
And I would like bring this up because, fun fact, if you didn't know, about 20% of your students before even walking in the door are bound to fail because they don't know how to read. And because of the way you teach how to read, it's not technically for everyone. Along with, it's not effective for everyone, especially kids with dyslexia. You have no program, and it was way too difficult. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you very much. Miss Kelly Curvin, Katie Delaney, Mike Mueller. Did you get this? Mueller or Maya?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Kelly Curvin, Katie Delaney, Mike Mueller.
I'd first like to address a comment that was made earlier today about books being written at lower levels. The United States ranks 125th in literacy.
We have school board members making fun of kids now. Jean Trent and Megan Wright made fun of this sweet girl who loves to get up at school board meetings and try to teach them about dyslexia. Here's a clip, and it happens fast. Pay attention. So let me set the scene. This is right after she spoke about dyslexia. Did you see that? Stabs his eye with the microphone, and she's laughing about it. Let's watch that one more time. So funny. So this little badass got up at the next school board meeting and clapped back.
Jean Trent and Megan Wright. So I am here to request, actually, I'll rephrase that. I'm here to demand an apology publicly to the dyslexic community for your disrespect, not only to people who have difficulty learning, but also to me. That's right. You said, and I quote, just to be clear, I was not laughing at the child. I was laughing at Trent, who has made a comment about me.
The whole speech was great. I'll post the whole thing in my comments. But so this gets fun when her mom gets up next to speak. She calls out Megan Wright so hard that Megan gets up and walks out of the boardroom.
So I had a speech prepared. I might go over. Megan, she's 14. Be respectful. That's all she's asking. For those who don't know, I let Samantha write her own speeches. She picks her own topics. She picks what she cares about. She's not going to be gaslit into believing she didn't see what everybody on YouTube also saw. So either be quiet or apologize, but pick one. But shaking your head at her while she stands up here as a 14-year-old, which she's already terrified of being up here as it is just not okay. And ironically enough, my speech is about you today. I watched in horror last week as you made a charge against our teachers and students yet again, this time voting against loving guidance.
So ridiculous. So if you live in Florida or especially Brevard County, please share this video. Let's hold these clowns accountable.
This is an emotional story of reality. There are kids, as in like high schoolers, even middle schoolers, and in toxic relationships, when that person can make you feel like you're on top of the world and then within a second make you feel like absolutely nothing, you can't escape from that. 9 times out of 10, you're either too afraid to, or you don't know how. If you take away that aspect, you harm us as students. You harm me. You harm my friends. You put our future in jeopardy in that.
That coming second before telling the Brevard County Schools Book Review Committee that they're violating my constitutional right to books and harming me and my friends.
Someone who relates this book needs mental health. Yeah, you're right. They do. They need the mental health. I would say it's kind of ironic. I may not look it. I'm a middle schooler. I'm going into 9th. And it's funny. I walked into the room. I knew what I was getting myself into, but no one said, hey, do you want to still kind of like be here when they're talking about the book itself and showing it? Because no one pulled me out, no one asked. So why does it matter so much? You'll make a big deal out of nothing. Just saying. Thank you for your time.
The response, again, was just so disheartening. And then this school board continues to just show that they do not care about this student or any student. They just care about their ideologies and their power. This same student made a video discussing the lawsuit, and I'm so proud of her for bringing this up because otherwise I would not have known about it. So like huge kudos for her to take the initiative and like create content, bringing the attention to this. Like the thing about Moms for Liberty is so organized, and now they're in league with the Proud Boys. Us who are just trying to keep our parental rights and education, and the students and the teachers, we're not as organized, and we're not funded. We're scattered, and there's no money backing us, and we're not going and speaking over students and teachers saying that our ideas matter more. And that lack of organization is the problem. So like the only way that we know about these things is each other speaking out about them. Like the only reason that I even knew about the whole "this book is gay" thing is because Carmen from Tomes and Textiles posted about it. Without that, I wouldn't have known. And then I told my neighbor, and now she's involved. We have to talk about this. We have to share. Otherwise, it's just going to keep happening. So I'll let her tell you what happened with the lawsuit and what she found out about what her school board said about the lawsuit regarding George M. Johnson and Escambia County.
The school board held a meeting off campus, so for this reason, it wasn't live streamed, but there's audio. And I have to ponder, did they forget they were being recorded, or do they just not care about being sued? In Escambia County, Penguin Random House has officially joined a lawsuit against their school board for just banning books, as you can see right here. More information is down here. Now listen to how our chairperson, Matt Susan, wants to retaliate against Penguin Random House for this lawsuit.
Publishers involved in that one too.
Which is upsetting that a publisher is suing them. Because to my mind, if that publisher's publishing stuff and they're suing one of our school districts, I'll just ban those books too.
As if this wasn't bad enough, Jean Trent admits this about book banning in Brevard Public Schools.
You get 3 votes. You could remove a book because you don't like the cover of the book. We're not removing books just because it violates the law.
Brevard County teachers are among the lowest paid in Florida. How can we expect to fix that when our school board can't seem to think before they speak?
So just to reiterate, that is her school board in Brevard County admitting that they are willing to ban books simply because they don't like that Penguin Random House brought a lawsuit against another county in Florida. Okay. I'm really proud of this student for bringing up this and putting attention on all of this, because especially as a fellow Floridian and a parent in Florida of a public school, of 2 public school students. So huge kudos to her for bringing this to the attention of the public, because it ended up on the news because of her. Thank God. It's so important that we speak up about our politicians and how they are behaving, especially in how school board members are treating the students and the teachers that they're supposed to be serving. What they are doing by saying, oh, if Penguin Random House and these authors are going to sue Escambia County for not allowing the books to be on shelves, then we are going to ban their books in retaliation. This is fascism. And so far, this teen girl is the only reason that people know about it and the only reason that it ended up on the news. But that's not enough for it to just be on local news. We have to get the word out. I know that a lot of y'all don't want to travel to Florida, and I'm not asking you to. I know that a lot of people didn't want to come to BookNet Fest because it feels unsafe in Florida. I get that. It feels unsafe to live here. It really does. I hope that we will kind of shift the language that we use to talk about Florida, though, because we cannot leave Florida behind. I know there's that joke of like sawing off Florida and letting it drift into the ocean. It's funny, but then people ask, like, why was BookNet Fest held in Florida? And I feel very strongly that that is a frustrating question for me, because what it feels like is saying, like, almost insinuating like we need to just sort of like let Florida burn on its own. Other states deserve more to have, you know, these events. And the thing is that really feels like we are ignoring the fact that we still live here. We cannot just leave. Like, I hope to eventually leave. I can't right now. My circumstances will change. However, other people's won't. They will stay the same. Not everybody is able to move in a few years. And I want us to shift the language that we're talking about when we talk about Florida, because there's kids here. There's queer folks here. There's BIPOC folks here. There's the Jewish community here. And it's dangerous here. We cannot be left behind, and we need help. And we need your help. And not having events in Florida is not what's going to fix this. Showing up for Florida however you can is what's going to fix this. So that's why George M. Johnson is today's author behaving excellently, because in doing this lawsuit, they have shown up for Florida in a way that is so desperately needed. And that's why it's rattling the people in Brevard County on the school board, because they're saying, well, if they're going to sue, then we're going to ban their books. The fascists are rattled, and I need everybody to start rattling the fascists. I'm very grateful that BookNet Fest was held here. It's brave that BookNet Fest was held here, because it's a beacon of hope for all of us who feel so hopeless here, as is seeing these lawsuits play out. It feels hopeless living here. And having that event here, it was one of the few times, other than the ACLU meeting I just attended, where I've rallied with other people and have been able to say, hey, what can we do collectively? What can we do to help each other? And how do we help each other? How do we help ourselves? How do we help these kids that Moms for Liberty is abandoning? Jesus, do I cry in every video? I feel like I cry in every video. Moms for Liberty is not only abandoning children, they're actively targeting children. They're working alongside the Proud Boys to target queer kids. I don't think you understand how dangerous it is for kids to be going to school board meetings now in our state. Just a few days before BookNet Fest, neo-Nazis were outside of Disney yelling slurs. And those same neo-Nazis feel so emboldened that they are now showing up at our school board meetings in multiple counties. We cannot do this necessary work to protect ourselves and each other without help. Abandoning Florida is not how we help ourselves and each other. I'm not asking asking you to come here. I'm not asking you to move here at all. Don't do that. What I'm asking you to do is do what you can from home to actively promote and support the organizations, the students, and the teachers who are speaking out about what it is like living in this state that is in this state of proto-fascism. The students and the teachers who are speaking up are the voices that we need to amplify, and having events like BookNet Fest was an opportunity to amplify such voices. Even though you are not in my district, if Moms for Liberty is going to be emailing my district, I don't want anybody, including people who agree with me, to show up and speak at my school board personally. I know people who do. I love you, but I would rather students, parents who actually have kids enrolled in my district, and teachers speak at those meetings, and nobody else. That's why I show up at the Hernando County School Board meeting, I show up at the Pinellas County School Board meeting, and I don't take a slip to speak, because I'm talking over an actual student or parent or teacher who's there to talk to their legislators about their issues. Why would you do that? And even the people within my county, if you're not a parent of an actively enrolled student, I don't really want to hear from you either. You're speaking over me. We only have 3 minutes to talk to our kids' school board members. 3 minutes. And when you all show up, that time gets down from 3 minutes to 2 minutes to 90 seconds. You think that you have a right to 90 seconds to talk to my school board when you don't have any kids? If my sister, who also lives in the same county, shows up at my school board to talk to my school board members, I'm punching my own sister in the face. I'm not kidding you. Don't talk over me about my kids. So I'm not asking you to show up at school board meetings if you're not a teacher or a student or a parent of actively enrolled students. I'm not asking you to do that. You can, though, email them. I don't mind that. I don't care about that. You're not talking over me if you're emailing. So if Moms for Liberty is emailing, go ahead and email some school boards. Go ahead. I highly encourage you. You need help doing that, you can email me and I'll tell you what to do. Also, share the shit out of students talking about their school board. Share the shit out of it. I left one down below. Find others and support them. Support teachers. Talk about this. Reshare this. Make content about this. If you've got the funds, make a fucking lawsuit. Well, I want people to go as hard for Florida kids as George M. Johnson and Ashley Hill Perez and David Levithan and all these other authors are doing. These lawsuits matter. They really matter. And I cannot think of a person more worthy of authors behaving excellently than George M. Johnson, for writing an excellent book, for doing incredibly important work, and for sticking up for Florida when it feels like we've been so left behind.
George also works with True Evolution in their Project Legacy project that is addressing the needs of the unhoused, especially vulnerable unhoused populations like queer folks and disabled folks. And they worked with Project Legacy, and you can see they actually just had their house that was named after them open just recently in July. And it's gorgeous. It's amazing that they did this, that they worked with Project Legacy in this way and are addressing homelessness in this way, and really putting their money where their mouth is to help the populations of unhoused folks who are desperately in need of housing. So this is really incredible. It just continues to show that they're like such an incredible person, and I'm so excited to be like showcasing them for their first Authors Behaving Excellently video.
When I was a kid in Florida, there was nobody showing up for me. I was in abusive Christian private schools that taught us nonsense curriculum that was actually born out of Florida, Becca. I had a very limited education because they were trying to keep me stupid, and now I have to be the person that I wish had been there for me. And I appreciate when other adults do the same, and George M. Johnson is one of those adults. Certainly, does their book contain difficult material? It does. There is talk about sexual abuse from somebody within their own family. There is a difference between talking about something that happened to you and advocating for sexual abuse. This book is not even close to doing the latter. This is a memoir talking about actual experiences that the author experienced, and it talks about their difficulty with learning that that was in fact sexual abuse, and coming to terms with that, and coming to terms with trying to find closure when their abuser is now dead, and their abuser was somebody that they cared about, was in their family. And unfortunately, that's the reality of a lot of kids. Most kids who are sexually abused by somebody within their own family, with somebody who is close to them. And books like these that talk about those incredibly difficult topics, what happened to George M. Johnson does not live it's not an isolated incident. Most kids who are abused abused by a family member or somebody close to their family. And learning that could be preventative, or learning that could be helpful for a student to come to terms with, hey, what this family member did to me was actually abuse, and I need to get some help. That's what George M. Johnson advocates for. As far as like actual sexual content, like not sexual abuse, but sexual content, it does actually talk about the first time that George M. Johnson had sex with a man. And in fact, they talk about the fact that sex education in the United States failed them. And when they did have sex, they did not know what they were doing. It's explicitly stated, I didn't know what I was doing. I should have been taught this so that I could prevent myself from getting hurt. And they did get hurt. They were in college when this happened. But this will encourage teenagers to learn about sex, which they are already having statistically, in order to prevent themselves from getting harmed. This will encourage them to not learn from porn, because they explicitly state in the book that porn is harmful for learning about sex, and instead needed comprehensive science-based sex education to help them prevent themselves from getting harmed. This book is helpful. There is no causal relationship between this book and harm. These are necessary conversations. Are they uncomfortable? Sure. But your priority as a parent, your priority as a legislator, is not to be comfortable. It's to protect students, to educate students so that they make the best decisions going forward. I can't believe I have to sit here and keep explaining this. George M. Johnson gets it. I don't know why my legislators can't. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Please read All Boys Aren't Blue. It's such a fantastic book. It was one of the books for Queer Lit Readathon, which we did this month in June. I'm so thankful for it. It's a resource. I've gifted it. And I also want to say that some of my friends here on BookTube have fantastic reviews on it. So if you want more like an in-depth review of the book itself, rather than talking about the author and the implications of what happens when this book is banned, I can recommend 3 people off the top of my head. Ashley from Bookish Realm, who did a review on this years ago, was actually in the like sorority that's connected to Alpha Phi Alpha. I don't really know how that works, but she loves this book, and she's also a librarian. So her video review on it, I'll link down below. Shane from Luxurious Blue talks about this book, and I love their channel. Check out Shane's review, and then also Lou from Lou Reading Things, who's like my best friend, has a review on it from the perspective of talking about grief, because it does talk in the book about loss of a family member. So important conversations that this book can be a jumping off place from, but instead Florida counties want to ban it. Help. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Thank you to George M. Johnson. You're my hero. Thanks for sticking up for Florida kids. Okay, comments and questions down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you read All Boys Aren't Blue. If you have read it, let me know your thoughts on it down below. I need to go check my phone. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Before I go, I have to say a few thank yous. First, to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Allie Magpie, Amanda M, Ashley B, Bubble Tea, Cami, Chris, Chrissy, Claire, Des, Eric, Jack and Jill, John E, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Kelly K, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lex Lula, Molly, Alice, Peggy Lou, Witch Bitch, Rain, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, SMK, and Zachary. Thank you all so much for being a friend. And last but not least, before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons. And those are AM Angel, Aiden, Alicia, Amanda B, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley H, Aubrey P, Ava, BB, Beck, Blythe, Bookish Barbie, Ray, Bree, Bryn, Caitlin, Carlin, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Colleen, Corwin, Corey, Darren, Deborah, Diet Goth, Dorothea, Ebby, Eden, Elise, Ember, Emily A, Emily L, Grace, Gracie, Hannah C, Hannah T, Harpy Kuro, Hello There Darling, Ilyanaka, India Inks, JM Tenet, Jacko All Trades, Jay is on Olympus, JT, Jennifer T, Jenny G, Jillian, Jules, Kaylee, Kat, Katya, Kayala, Kendra, Kylie, Laughing Cat Dog, Lauren B, Library of Scars, Lisa B, Liz Cardigan, Lustful Octopus. I tried to say it without laughing, I couldn't do it. Martin, Marquita, Maz, Malara, Meow Meow, James, Nat, Natalie M, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nicole T, Nikki, Niam Binary, Paige E, Paige P, Foxglove, Pixel Stars, Pierre Raytheon, Rachel B, Raquel, Rat Sarah, Reba, Rebecca, Ren, Robin, Rowan, Other Rowan, Secoria, Samantha, Sammy, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Scarlett, Shanae, Shannon, Shayna, Sheena K, Sean, Sierra, Stephanie, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Toast, Trash Can Teddy, Tito Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.